Ronnie, I want to say welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for you coming out. Please tell me how a child with ADHD, a learning disability called Dysgraphia, who was placed in special education, became an award-winning author.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me. Malcolm Gladwell has a book called Outliers, and he talks about, he calls them these disadvantages, but oftentimes become advantageous. So, having dysgraphia or having ADHD, having any type of disadvantage, if you are a person who's driven, who has a good support system, you can actually use those weaknesses as strengths. So, for me, growing up, being in special education, feeling like there was something, wrong with me, it sort of pushed me to want to succeed. I had a teacher tell me I wasn't going to college. So, for some kids in the class, it could have, discouraged them. For me, it motivated me. Having ADHD, I tell people it's like a superpower because, it's hard for you to focus on a lot of things, but you can find like one thing and like hyper focus on. So for me.
Before we continue, right? Because you're an adult now, you have a different perspective.
Yeah.
What does it feel like exactly to have? We hear it all the time.
Right.
Like, please explain for you, what did it feel like to have ADHD?
So for me, now as an adult with ADHD, it's really helpful. Like for me, publishing the book, it was something I was able to put like 100% energy, 100% focus in. I was able to see the task through from beginning to end. But for me, getting started is sometimes difficult because sometimes you're really disorganized. Sometimes it's hard to get focused. But when you do focus and get locked in, you sort of get the tunnel vision. But sometimes that's not good if you have a wife and you have kids and you have bills and have expenses because you focus all your time on publishing this book, which can cost, for me, about $5,000 per book. So you're taking resources, you're taking up a lot of time. But the ability, like I said, to focus on this and to be driven, it really sort of motivates you, like it energizes you. So for me, it energized me to promote my book, to find the people I needed to write the book, to do speaking engagement. So it sort of like unlocked parts of me that, that I loved. They were sort of my gifts. But growing up, they were things that caused me a lot of problems. But as an adult, I could use them to actually generate some income and also be able to share my story to inspire other people.
All right. I want to jump back as a kid, though, right? Like when you have ADHD, did you have something that you used to focus on back then as a kid that you enjoyed, that you really focused on?
So my dad, we were really interested in like trading cards. So I was really into like getting trading cards, like baseball cards, football cards. I used to put a lot of energy in that. Rap music. I used to think of myself as a rapper. So I used to like write these rhymes and we would like exchange rhymes in school. I have ciphers. So I would say like my first real love for literacy was really in rapping, and writing my lyrics down and really trying to come up with a clever punchline. So it really got me sort of putting my thoughts down on paper, not so much in an academic way, but just more so in a creative way. So it was like certain parts of my life, certain things that I would like hyper focus on, but sometimes that attention would sort of pull away from other areas like academics.
And can you please explain what dysgraphia is?
So dysgraphia is a neurological condition that affects your ability to write. So for me, my handwriting wasn't legible, so teachers couldn't read it. So in my IEP, they said, well, individualized education plan, which is something that the schools produce. They said that I needed to do my work on a computer. Granted, I'm born in '83. So, back in the 90s, my dad was like the only black person I knew with a computer. So, I had the ability to type my stuff in, but my handwriting was so bad the teachers couldn't read it. It also affects your ability to organize your ideas and thoughts on paper. So it's more so a disability that sort of looks at your writing ability, whether it's writing down, words or letters, or also organizing your thoughts into writing them down.
So how were you able to overcome that?
Thank God for Microsoft Word. So, assistive technology, and I think that's a term that a lot of people don't understand or don't know, but it's something that a lot of special education teachers and, professionals know. So my glasses is assistive technology. I didn't like to wear my glasses in school, and I couldn't see the board, which probably affected my academics tremendously. But once I started wearing my glasses, it gave me an advantage. I could see the board. Just like typing. So on Microsoft Word, it probably would drive some people crazy, but I have like 8 or 9 Microsoft Word tabs open. especially in writing my book or writing papers. So I'm able to multitask. So for me, it's easier for me to see 8 or 9 tasks versus looking at a sheet of paper because it's almost like more linear. But I'm able to open up multiple tasks. I can put some thoughts here. I can move down to the clear part of the page, start a new idea. Versus if I'm writing it down, I'm already not able to read my writing, but then I'm erasing, I'm adding new ideas, I'm taking away ideas, so it's really sort of a jumbled mess. But I would say Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, those different tools, it really gave me an outlet to express myself in a more clear and precise way. So I would say that definitely changed everything.
All right, when they put you in special education, right, did you clearly know you were in special education, and also did it mess with your confidence?
You know what? I didn't know I was in quote-unquote special education until I got to 7th grade. I think 7th grade when it sort of the light bulb went off, like, you know, my friends aren't going to this class. And I'm looking at the kids that's in the class, and kids know who underperform and who overperform, you know, in certain things. So, you know, I think I say 6th or 7th grade is when I became real conscious of this place is for people that's not good at academics. But in elementary school, it was sort of fun because the teacher would take you out of class. They have like little prizes you can get at the end of class. Of course, the token system to try to get you motivated to do the work. But in elementary school, I didn't really care. I thought it was more of a privilege. But once I got to middle school and became a little bit more self-aware, I realized that, you know, certain kids came here and that, you know, these teachers have a different, they're looking at me a little bit differently and evaluate me a little differently. And this is not a place that, you know, cool kids or popular kids want to be. So I used to actually sneak to class. In my book, I compared Nelson to a ninja. Nelson's the main character because I would literally like come to my special education resource class late or go early to avoid my friends seeing me. And my best friends didn't even know I was in special education until I told them after high school because I felt comfortable sharing it. But that stigma, it was huge, man. It was almost like a burden to be in those classes and to walk around school acting like everything was normal, but understanding and knowing that, you know, things weren't normal and that, you know, the school didn't identify me as being quote unquote normal.
When did you start to excel academically?
College. Yeah, college. High school, elementary, middle school, I underperformed. I think the ADHD, I was more so on the social side of it. I just wanted to play with my friends. I wanted to be a class clown. I wanted to do everything other than focus on the work. And teachers didn't really have any high expectations from me either, so they kind of set the bar right here, and I was fine sort of being right here. My parents, I mean, my grades were like C's, D's, F's, so they didn't really have a high academic bar for me. I would say when I graduated high school, I was sort of driven to like succeed because 12th grade year was extremely frightening. I was terrified of graduating school. Like I signed up for the Army and I didn't really know what to do. Like I was scared. But in college, I decided that I was going to go to college with no accommodations. Like I didn't want to have an IEP. I won't have these teachers, people that know me to have this history. And I think sometimes as a student with disabilities or African American students, when you go up to different grades, sort of your reputation precedes you. And where I'm from, it's an elementary, middle, and high school. There's no other school. So, you know, you start, like the people you start with kindergarten with are the people you finish with in 12th grade. So having that reputation, you know, it's hard to erase it. It's hard to run away from it. But when I went to college, nobody knew me. You know, I could set my own expectations. So I think that's when I realized that it was sink or swim, and I decided to swim.
All right, so I know you did community college, right? Then
Yeah.
you transferred to Old Dominion.
Yes.
How was the transition from community college to Old Dominion?
It was probably, I would say, I always tell people community college, especially with someone with disabilities or maybe you're just not that strong of a student, it's a really good transition because I went to a really small community college. It was in Richmond, Virginia called J. Sargent Reynolds, and the counselors, even the students, a lot of the students were adult students. So the teachers were a lot more patient. They weren't much more focused on, you know, sort of the content, but just more focused on how can we help assist you get into the next level. So, you know, the deadlines weren't as hard as they are when you go to a university. The teachers have a lot more availability in terms of office time. Some of the teachers work a second job themselves, so they understood what the struggle was like. And they also understood the type of students that were coming in. So I would say it was a lot more patience. I didn't feel like just a number, when I went to Old Dominion, I love Old Dominion, much respect to Old Dominion, but when you go to a school that has 25, 30,000 students, you are essentially your number, and it's not that closeness, that ability to go to your teacher and be available to talk. You got to sign up for office hours. But I felt like community college sort of gave me that confidence because I was able to pass classes. Like I made the dean's list like my second semester. I'm like, damn, I never even made honor roll in school. But seeing that I was able to succeed and do well, and that sort of gave me that confidence just to keep going. And I tell people I felt like high school was harder than college for me. And it's because I think the ADHD and disability, when I was in school, we took 7 classes a day. So can you imagine a disorganized student having to figure out how to manage 7 classes a day for an entire year? I felt like that was something that was challenging. But when in college, I only had 4 classes. I could have like 2 classes in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or I can do Tuesday and Thursday for 2 classes. I was able to balance my work out a lot. Even though the workload was more, I could balance it out to where I could sort of focus on 1 or 2 classes versus focusing on 7 classes a day for an entire year.
What advice would you give to parents whose children have ADHD?
I would say patience. A lot of times, it's not necessarily the kid with the ADHD, it's sort of the adults who have to sort of live with it or manage it. And I think sometimes adults get a little, they get concerned, and sometimes they become like over aggressive in how they deal with it. They used to call me Pluck growing up. And I realized it was because my mom used to pluck me all the time when I acted up. And I think parents of kids with ADHD, sometimes it's just so much. The kids are so energized, it's everywhere. And sometimes it can like draw on a parent and they get really frustrated. And I think sometimes that can really affect how a kid with ADHD perceive themselves. And sometimes they see themselves as an issue, as the problem, versus seeing, okay, I have this dysregulation. I don't really know what's causing it. I don't really know how to deal with it. I don't really have the tools to deal with it. And I don't have a parent that's patient enough to deal with it. It just really creates a lot of anxiety and the stress on the child. But I think if they have adults, whether it's parents or teachers, who understand, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, these are some tools to deal with it. All right, I'm going to take a deep breath because I need one. I need a break. I need to, figure it out. And I need to come back to it versus, seeing this kid as a problem, trying to figure out ways to get them out the way so that you can, educate the other students.
All right, transition in your life now, right? When did you get the courage? When did you get the courage and the vision to write a book?
When I graduated college, when I graduated Virginia Commonwealth University, I reached out to my former special education teacher because I wanted to invite her to my graduation. And she reached out to me, and I found her on Facebook. And she had just mentioned, she was like, you need to tell your story. And I took it literally. I never really had any thoughts of writing my story or telling my story. But, I thought that it would be something interesting to share because if you look at books, especially books on kids or even books with African-American characters, you don't really see the issue of disabilities, at least learning disabilities, really talked about. So, I had felt like I had earned my master's degree in social work. I felt like I achieved some level of success. And again, I had an 8th grade math teacher who told me I would never go to college. And all throughout my life, I always felt like teachers didn't think I could even finish school. So I felt like I achieved this. I need to provide this blueprint, this resource for kids who are like me or similar, and also let parents know, like, hey, chill, your kid is okay. Like, this kid went through what your kid went through, and he was able to achieve some level of success. So I wanted to instill some hope, in the parents, because oftentimes, even as a parent now, I have a 15-year-old, who has some reading issues. I see that, when you don't have the answer, you get anxiety, you get stress. Sometimes you get frustrated. Sometimes you take it out on the kid. Sometimes you go to different educators. They don't really have the answers, so it's a scary process. So I really wanted to give a book that sort of instill hope, inspiration, and let people know that even if you have challenges, no matter what your challenge is, you have the ability to overcome it. And I really highlight the adults, like my parents, my teacher, administrators, friends, because it really takes a village. Like anytime you have a kid with a challenge, it takes really a village to help motivate them, help get them through that process.